Can I get a hall pass? We literally just started class. I don't know, can you? Okay. Where's my camera, man? There it is. Oh, it's all the way down there. Is that where it goes? I don't know where. Okay, so, you know, I didn't really include it. Let's do it right now. We'll put a content warning on this episode. It was very intense. This episode was very intense. If you played through this part of the game, a lot of potential triggers here, namely SA. So if that's something that is upsetting to you, or you don't have an easy time watching or discussing or hearing be discussed, let's maybe skip this one, okay? Major content warning though. And also we will talk about that a little bit, but I'm trying to focus on like some of the other points throughout the episode, but just seeing that character might be upsetting to some people. So I just wanted to just say that. So we go. All right, so we have episode 8, When We Are in Need. This aired last night. It was wow. It was very much wow. It's hard to keep showing up here on Mondays and saying, wow, this episode was even more intense. But the truth is, this was probably the most intense episode. It was very intense. All right, so this episode really had a lot to do, I felt like, with desperation. We're obviously living in a world where everyone's desperate to survive. But this episode felt extra desperate, just everywhere. Everyone, the weather, the environment, everything about this episode just was like, the desperation factor just like really shot up. And I think they established that really early on. I mean, when you're playing through this episode in the game, you really do feel that weather. Like it's a blizzard and you can barely even see in front of you in certain parts. Big 07 to Troy Baker. Awesome cameo. Wow, that was wild seeing him as the bad guy. Super wild, but he was great. He just like Perry's character, and I'm sure Ashley Johnson's character coming up, they've done such a good job of like being incredible actors, but not drawing attention to themselves and not doing the voice really. I mean, I feel like even when I hear him talk on the podcast, I'm like, yeah, it's Joel. Like I fucking hear him, I hear the voice. But when he played James, I was like, he did a good job really just being someone else, which I appreciated. Must have been a weird but cool but weird experience for him, I imagine. Okay, off the top, we had the rabbit getting even with Ellie. Ellie taking a quick L, because of course in the game, Ellie absolutely cooks this rabbit, but the rabbit was like, HBO, it's my time. And absolutely reverse Uno's Ellie, makes her face plant. Ellie took the L. Okay, so this is potentially that meme from It's Always Sunny, where he's like pointing at the board and it's like a conspiracy and there's all these connected dots. This might be a moment like that for me. Okay, so in this encampment, in this little society that you like learn that David is kind of running, the girl is mourning the loss of her dad. And you learn that it's a guy that Joel killed. And they're like, when can we bury him? And David says, the ground is too cold to dig. We'll bury your father in the spring. And I just heard that line and I was like, wait. When did Joel die in the second game? When does that happen? And I looked it up and I think it's March 2nd, which is like right before the spring season. Again, probably reaching here, but this line was like, we'll bury your father in the spring. I don't know. I'm sorry, chat. I didn't write the freaking episode. I didn't write the series. Take it up with Neil. All right, moving on. We had some nice feral hunter moments with like, look at this feral expression. Like I would not want to be on the other end of that. They also did a really good job, I think, of including the original dialogue in moments where we would all recognize it and feel like we kind of needed it. The gun is so big, yeah. Like even when she shouts out medicine, like this whole dialogue, buddy boy, all that, it was good. I liked it. I don't know what happened here. This is just, someone logged into my Canva or something. I loved this. There were a lot of like moments of Ellie just like being a total badass. This is in the game where you first play as Ellie, right? So there's moments I remember even through my first playthrough where she says something or you get to do something as Ellie and you're like, holy shit, what an absolute legend. She's just like holding her own. And this scene was really good. Yeah, it was different than the game because in the game you fight infected and that's sort of like the moment where you kind of have to team up with with him, you know? But in the show, there's no fighting of infected. Again, it's like back in the episode where Tess holds off the horde of infected so that Joel and Ellie can escape. In the game, it's not infected. They're fighting Fedra. So they did a little switcheroo. They took out the part where they're fighting infected. So there was no... Here's what I think about that, right? I'll get to this too. They turned David into a just an all-out monster. I mean, he's a monster in the game, but they really amped up the horrible factor of this character by like 100. And I think it would have bothered people if Ellie ever willingly worked with him. Not that she would have really had a choice if they were being swarmed, but I think that they made two choices. They were like, okay, first choice, he's horrible. He's horrible. However bad we remember him being in the game, he's way worse. Okay, and then the second choice was, because of that, Ellie would never work with him. And maybe not only would she not work with him, but like people watching wouldn't want her to work with him. That wouldn't be okay. They wouldn't forgive that. And I think that was intentional. I'm just testing out some new fonts. This casting was like really good. Okay, so who else spotted this little parallel here? Because I like screamed when this shot happened. Pretty awful. Pretty awful. Also, what the damn hell is Video Game Joel doing? Shooting at Ellie? What the damn hell? Who does he think he is? It was a hell of a shot, but like, what the hell? Where do you get off? Okay, so David's character in the show, he's all of these things. He's predatory, he's manipulative, he kills for survival, but not exclusively. He's abusive in many ways. He preys on children, which becomes apparent later on, and kind of early on too. Preaches, lies, breaks his own morals. Pretends like he's a decent guy too. He says, everything happens for a reason. They elected me to lead them. I'm just a decent man. I'm just trying to survive. Just constant manipulation of like everyone he's talking to. He's trying to let them know how good he is. I'm a good guy. But it doesn't matter because Ellie outsmarts, endures, and survives the horror that he is. Or at the end of the episode, we only get like a short, tiny glimpse as to like how fucked up she is after that. Because she's fucked up. You can see it in her eyes. She can't even form sentences. Like that was brutal to watch. But like throughout, she's just a warrior every step of the way. And she fights and fights and fights and fights. And then it's over and she wins. But this scene of her in the cage really reminded me of the promo image for the part 2 of this on the right here. Felt like that was, I don't know how intentional it was, but maybe it was just, holy shit, Bella just acted their tail off, and then here we are with this image because it's just what it looks like. I don't know how this slide got in here. I think, again, someone hacked my Canva.
29 months, let's go.
Can we get some dink bites in chat? Did everyone look at the menu for dinner tonight at the lodge? This is a menu I found off of Google. Okay, speaking of the menu, how horribly disturbing was the sound when they finished their little fucking prayer and they all started eating at the same time? Oh, the sound was just so... I don't know, it's like how to describe it, but it's like, it wasn't even like, you wouldn't even hear like chewing or anything. It was just the sound of like 20 people, 30 people just fairly spoon to plate over and over. And you know what it is, but it doesn't matter because they don't know and they're just so fairly hungry. And it's like, ooh, and he's just sitting there. The sound design in this scene was crazy. It was wild. So David telling Ellie, David has moments where he's trying his best to just like manipulate Ellie. She's not having it. And one of the things he says to her is, you have a violent heart, which I saw that and I was like, okay, valid. You're definitely bringing it out of her, but valid. Yeah, I don't know why that woman looked like Mel. What was that? Yeah, it was the only thing where he wasn't wrong. It was, and it like, again, his behavior brought it out. It elicited her violence because she's surviving. But I liked this quote. It really just plays into Ellie's character development later on too. You're like, no one without a violence inside of them like Ellie has can do what she does. You have to be just to your core somewhat just really violent. So yeah, this was an interesting thing. Okay, so I want to talk quickly about David when he is having his like manipulation moment. So he tries to tell Ellie, he tries a number of different ways to get Ellie to be like, yeah, I'll team up with you. And one of the things he does, which I just found interesting, and I'll tell you why, is talking about how cordyceps isn't bad. Like in and of itself, biologically, cordyceps isn't bad. It's literally just trying to survive, you know, like establish itself, protect its children, secure its future with violence. And he uses this like parallel as such a manipulation tactic, which is gross. And in the context of how he's talking to a little girl in a cage, it's so unbelievably fucked up. It's like, it's jarring how gross it is. Because it is, it's really, really gross. But standalone, the thought of cordyceps not being evil, because it is literally just like, it's just a species, right? It kind of makes you as a viewer, I mean, obviously everyone has a different experience watching the show, but for me, it made me as a viewer kind of like rethink a little bit about like the cordyceps. Like this whole time, infected are the bad guys, right? But in reality, it doesn't really have an evil like agenda. It is just surviving. It's creepy. Just the whole scene and the whole dialogue is very creepy with the context of him talking to Ellie, without the context of him talking to Ellie, just the thought of it, thought of a pandemic being caused by cordyceps at this level and it not being kind of propelled by humans being evil. And the weird contrast to him saying cordyceps isn't evil is like he's the most evil thing that we've seen on the show, you know? And so like the contrast of him describing cordyceps as good while he is just pure evil is, it's a lot. It's just a lot. There's this sign in their little lodge where it says, when we're in need, he shall provide. I thought about this sign a lot because it was very prominent in the end scene when everything catches fire and Ellie has that fight, because a lot of the parallels in the show, you can kind of like draw similarities to this saying. One of the parallels I thought of was when it says, when we are in need, we being the people of the world who are surviving, but scared of getting infected, and he shall provide, referring to Joel delivering Ellie to the lab to get the vaccine for everyone, right? So that was just interesting because the next episode, we're supposed to see that, kind of, maybe. Probably. There's a lot of ways to read into when we are in need, he shall provide, especially in the context of a horrible apocalypse. But I don't know. It feels a little bit foreshadowy, potentially, to Joel's decision that we will hopefully see next episode. Again, so reminder, content warning. The scene where in game that you watch me struggle on for too long, where you're running away from him in the kitchen, around the booths. It's scary because he's like, it's a boss fight in game. It's basically just a boss fight. So he's extra difficult to defeat. He's more elusive, he's quicker, he's more accurate, especially when you play on grounded like a dummy like me. But in the show, it went from like a big scary boss fight to just like the devil. And it was personified by the fact that he's in this burning building. And not once is he like seeming out of place inside that like
love y'all. So glad you're loving the show
just
too.
Wall of
Happy
flames.
58.
It's important for me. I think, okay, so when I watch shows, especially heavy shows, what I love to do, partially because I love filmmaking and it's interesting to me, but mainly because it helps me cope with the fact that what I just watched was people just at work and it was all fake. I watch the behind the scenes and I see how things were done and I hear the actors talk. Sometimes they have accents, sometimes they're together. And I want to just emphasize that however horrible this character was, and he was horrible, he was the devil, this casting and this actor who played David, just really, I bought it. I fully bought it. And I was scared of him and I was feeling a lot of emotions. I think a lot of people were, which is good writing, right? That's Neil. But man, when he's like singing her name, whew, like you can write a terrifying character and then cast the wrong person and it just doesn't come to life like this. And that's unfortunate because that happens a lot. But this was scary. And it was scary for a lot of reasons, namely the actor's performance. So shouts out. I actually don't even know his name. Do we have his name in chat? I don't know. But you can look it up on IMDb. Just terrifying. Terrifyingly talented. I don't think I have to add anything. Just a whole lot of feelings were felt. Jesus. It was so intense. Also, by the way, that's Ellie. That's quite literally Ellie. That's as Ellie as it gets. So everyone can just shut the hell up about that. If Bella doesn't win, the Emmys are a walking L. I mean, award shows are already walking L's, but if this Emmy doesn't go to Bella, I mean, I don't even know what the hell. They might as well just whoever wins, just give it to Bella. It's Bella's. Don't even play. Literally just stop. Literally stop it. I just wrote some notes talking about the intensity of this scene because it was very intense. 100% David was a child predator. They made that abundantly clear in this episode. He had victimized many people. The things he was saying to Ellie, the language he was using, the tone he was using, especially towards the end, fully traumatizing to people even without trauma. But wow, just horrifying to watch. And again, that's why we included the content warning. It's very, very triggering, so I completely understand if certain people can't watch even a breakdown of this episode because it was just horrible. They made this character 10 times scarier than any infected could ever be, and we've seen some really scary infected. We've seen bloaters, clickers, runners. We've seen how Tess went, which was horrible. This was worse, like 100 times worse. And they gave the most evil man the most violent death. These violent delights have violent ends. It was just a lot, but it ended good for Ellie, but good is relative because she'll take this with her. Chat, I had to do it. I'm so sorry, okay? But the baby girl moment, he hasn't uttered those words since episode 1, okay? I apologize, but we have to talk about it. Don't worry, we have TikToks to ease the tension at the end. We have 2 TikToks today, okay? We have 2 TikToks today. Fear not. Everything's gonna be fine. How many more do we have? I think 2 TikToks are next. Okay, TikToks. Okay, is everyone okay to watch a TikTok? The TikToks aren't even about this episode, but they are Last of Us themed. I could sit here and cry and talk about this moment for many minutes and hours, but Bella's acting was just so fucking good. My dude Joel took a long nap. He did his interrogation scene. I didn't want to put that into the presentation because I just felt like as much as it was satisfying to have that scene back in, it was like not the focus of the episode. But yeah, he f***ed that up. But Bella said, hey, Joel, hop into my backpack. I'm going to carry this episode, and then did. Okay, by the way, great meme. Absolutely great meme, and it's got Pedro in it, so it's even better. Okay, so that's one. We have another TikTok. Neither of them are about this episode, but they're both Last of Us themes. I was scouring my For You page, and I had a lot of Last of Us TikToks, but none of them were funny and about this episode, which I don't think is a coincidence. I don't think there was too many opportunities to laugh at this episode because it was very intense. So, and then the next one is this one.
All right.
Shut up.
Oh shit, who animated this, by the way? Really good job. This is Joel's voice. Well, there you go. Presentation's over. Thank you for the TikToks. Sorry about how upsetting this episode was. But there was some, it wasn't all sad.